If your e-com brand isn't doing SMS marketing right now, or if you are doing it, but you're not doing it properly, then you're likely leaving up to 30% more revenue on the table for your brand every single month. In this video, I'm gonna give you a step-by-step tutorial designed specifically to teach you how to maximize the revenue and, more importantly, the ROI that you should be seeing from SMS marketing. I'm also gonna share critical compliance tips that are essential for protecting your brand from lawsuits in 2025. Everything that I'm about to share with you is based on proven strategies that we use at my agency Dispatch to generate millions of dollars in profitable revenue for some of the fastest growing brands in North America every single month. So there are 3 core benefits of SMS marketing that can completely transform your overall lifecycle marketing and the results that you see from it. Number 1 is the ability to get instant customer attention. So simply put, unlike email where you may be seeing 30 to 50 to maybe 60% open rates on the high end, what you're gonna see with SMS is close to 100% open rates. And if you think of it in your own life, like when was the last time you got a text message that you didn't at least see at the very least? So essentially SMS is allowing you to get immediate attention, which can then be transformed into immediate action. It's by far the #1 channel to take advantage of anything that is like urgency driven. So when you think of an abandoned cart, being able to say that this is limited in stock and you should go shop now is going to convert extremely well when someone's getting that message, seeing it almost immediately after it gets sent to them, and then with one click can go shop and complete their purchase. The second thing that SMS marketing gives you is an additional channel to reach your customers. So an additional channel means an additional touch point. So if you're just using email marketing or you're just using email marketing at some points in your funnel, what that might mean is if someone does abandon a cart, they're only going to get an email an hour after they abandon that cart. But what if they're busy when they get that email? They might be interested in purchasing, that email might have converted them, but the timing just wasn't right. So by having SMS as another channel, you're going to be able to hit them a few hours later, which might be exactly what you need in terms of timing in order to drive that conversion. The third benefit of SMS is that it allows you to build stronger customer relationships. So SMS is just a more personal channel, which means that it allows you to build more authentic conversational relationships with your audience and your subscriber base. Just as an example, if you got a text from a brand and you want to reply with a customer service question, the ability to do that via text just feels like you're texting a friend compared to an email, which by default just feels less personal and more like professional. Now, if you're worried that SMS won't be profitable for your brand specifically, first off, that is a valid concern, but only if you're not using the channel efficiently. So before we dive into specific strategies and how to use SMS marketing on Klaviyo, it's crucial to understand how much it costs to send SMS messages, text messages, and how that's going to affect your overall ROI from SMS marketing. So really important, there's 2 types of text messages that you can send. You can either send an SMS, which generally refers to a standard text-only message, and then you can also send an MMS, which is going to include any form of media like an image or a GIF. Now, a super common mistake that I see when I audit brands is they're blasting frequent MMS messages or they're sending overly long SMS messages, which are driving up costs unnecessarily. So currently with most SMS service providers, an SMS message costs around 1 penny per message, whereas an MMS message is going to cost you around 3 cents. After very extensive A/B testing at my agency for our clients, we've rarely found consistent incremental revenue from sending MMS messages that justifies the higher cost. I'll give you a quick example so that you could see how sending an SMS versus an MMS is going to really affect your ROI. So imagine you're sending a campaign for a sale for Black Friday and it's going to 20,000 subscribers. At 1 cent per SMS, the campaign would cost you around $200. But at nearly 3 cents if it were an MMS campaign, that campaign is going to cost you $600. So to justify using an MMS, you basically need to generate significantly more incremental revenue to offset the additional $400 cost in that example. So with that said, if we want to optimize for highest ROI, which we do at our agency for our clients, we want to make sure we're using MMS messages strategically. An example of a time when you might want to use MMS could be when you have a new product launching and the product is really visual. So you want to make sure that people are seeing it with an image before they click out to the website. Now that we're clear on cost, let's explore the highest performing SMS strategies to ensure that we're sending for maximum ROI. So let's talk about flows first. There's only a few points in your funnel where SMS is going to have a really high high ROI for you. The first place where you'll typically see the highest ROI is going to be in your abandonment flows. So by adding well-timed SMS reminders to your abandoned checkout, abandoned cart, abandoned browse flow, you can genuinely boost the amount of recovered revenue from your abandoned carts by up to 30%. So when we're talking about ROI here, when you think of it logically, it's costing you 1 penny to send a text message to someone who is really close to driving a conversion. So right away, you can see how the ROI from one abandoned cart text to the right person at the right time is going to be completely different than sending out a campaign to tens of thousands of people when you don't know what their current status in terms of needing your products are. The next flow that you're going to see really high ROI on is going to be your welcome series. So you really want to make sure you have a good SMS welcome series set up, because the first few days after someone signs up to your list are extremely crucial to determine whether you're ever going to be able to convert them or not. So what that means is, yes, you definitely want a really good email welcome series in place, and email can convert even better than SMS. But if you can take advantage of having those 100% open rates to make sure you're getting your really good nurturing messaging in front of these new subscribers within the first few days after they sign up, the odds that you're able to convert them are basically going to double. And the last no-brainer place in the funnel you want to make sure you have SMS is in your post-purchase flow. So after someone buys, especially for the first time, you absolutely want to nurture them in making sure that you're welcoming them to the brand as a new customer. You're cross-selling them on any products that could enhance their ability to enjoy this initial product that they ordered, educating them on their loyalty program. Anything that you'd want to do in your email post-purchase flow, you're probably going to want to communicate in your SMS post-purchase flow as well. And again, you want to make sure that you're just taking advantage of that 1 penny cost to get that really important information in front of them at the right time. Now let's talk about campaigns and how you're going to want to use SMS marketing to ensure you have a high ROI in sending SMS campaigns. I can tell you, I've audited so many brands in the last year that are actively losing money on their SMS channel, and they're really just convinced that SMS doesn't work for their brand, or it's just not worth it. They can't get a positive ROI on SMS marketing. Every single time, and I'm not exaggerating here, every time, what I've identified is that their flows are generating a really good ROI actually, but all the excess cost that's leading to a low total overall ROI is coming from their campaign sending. And every single time, the reason is that they're blasting their full list with evergreen content that is very unlikely to drive ROI positive revenue. So if you shouldn't be sending evergreen campaigns with your SMS marketing, then when should you be sending campaigns? The two types of campaigns that generate really high ROI for SMS are going to be promotions or sales and new product launches. So basically, anytime you have something that is going to be very appealing and interesting to a new subscriber and they're going to want to click on, you want to take advantage of that 100% open rate, and that's where you're going to see the ROI. So if you're just sending them a random shop our bestsellers type of SMS campaign on a random Thursday, it's very unlikely that they're going to purchase from that. You might get a few purchases and that might drive some revenue, but if you're blasting your full list, the odds of that generating an ROI is going to be very small. On the other hand, if you're only sending to your full list when you do have something really important to say, then the odds are you're going to generate an ROI on that message. Now, here's one major pro tip that we share with all of our clients. You want to make sure that you're communicating that SMS is a channel for VIPs. Basically, every brand in their pop-up forum says join our community or become a VIP, but they treat their email subscribers and their SMS subscribers exactly the same, meaning there are no VIPs, everyone is just the same. And what that does is it really just removes the reason for why someone would want to sign up to be an SMS subscriber and why someone would want to stay on your list after they become a subscriber and start receiving your flow messages and your campaigns. So the way to turn it into a channel for VIPs and actually add value to being an SMS subscriber can be done in the form of giving early access to SMS subscribers whenever there is a sale or a new product launch. You can have additional discounts for SMS subscribers, like special 24-hour flash sales throughout the year that only your SMS subscribers get. And there's plenty of other ways that we give SMS subscribers the VIP treatment for our clients. Now, as you can see by the title of this video, this is a tutorial for setting up and optimizing SMS marketing on Klaviyo. But just so you know, if you're not on Klaviyo right now, if you're using another platform, everything I'm going to say in this video is still just as valuable for you. But I do want to give you some clarity on why I use Klaviyo and why I prefer it and think that it is the best solution for SMS marketing for e-commerce brands. So number one is unified attribution. So Klaviyo prevents double attribution by clearly differentiating if your revenue is coming from an SMS or an email. Now, if you do use another SMS marketing platform right now, like Postscript or Attentive or anything else, you probably can relate to what I'm about to say, which is when you look at your reporting data every month, you're going to see a lot of double attribution, double dipping that's happening from purchases where someone got an email and an SMS. So I've literally seen situations several several times where if you add up all of the revenue that's being attributed to email on Klaviyo and all of the revenue that's being attributed to SMS on Attentive, it can and it has added up to more total revenue than what you're seeing in Shopify. Because if someone receives both messages, both platforms take the credit. And at that point, you don't know if the SMS is what worked to drive that conversion or if it was the email. Now, there are third-party attribution tools that can be used here. So if you are using Google Analytics and you're just monitoring like UTM click tracking or using Triple Whale or something else, then there could be a solve for this in your way of handling your data. But for the average brand who does not have the time or the resources necessarily to invest in a platform like Triple Whale, you're gonna see huge value in having everything under one roof, where you're just gonna be able to see at a glance, how is SMS performing, where is SMS performing, compared to how is email performing, where is email performing, and being able to make decisions that optimize for revenue growth based off of that. The second reason that I'm Team Klaviyo when it comes to SMS marketing is it gives you the ability to easily have your omni-channel customer journey set up properly. So what I mean by that is omni-channel just means like using multiple channels in your marketing. So here we're talking about email and SMS working together as an omni-channel approach. And when you have email housed in one platform and SMS housed in another platform, I've just seen this so many times. Like you have an abandoned cart flow that's on Klaviyo, you have an abandoned cart flow that's on Attentive, and no one's keeping track of what the different time delays are in each of those places. It essentially removes the ability to say, like, if someone opened this email and did not click within 2 hours, then send them an SMS. And there are a ton of other examples like that that really just demonstrates that one hand is not talking to the other, and it just limits the ability to have a cohesive customer journey where your customers are receiving the messages that they want on both channels at the right time. So by having everything on Klaviyo, you really just have great control over your entire customer journey. All right, now let's go into Klaviyo and let me show you how to get your SMS marketing infrastructure set up the right way. So if you're not set up with SMS marketing in Klaviyo, let me just show you how to get set up super quickly. So you can click on settings, and then what you're going to do is click on SMS right up here. You can click set up SMS for free, check off all of the countries that you're going to be operating in and that you have customers in. So I'll just go ahead and select United States for this example. Go ahead, click on next. Then you're going to fill out all of your details right here. So I'm going to put my information in, go ahead, click next. And just like that, we have our phone number. So Klaviyo is going to verify the phone number. You can see the toll-free number was automatically submitted for verification to help reduce the risk of your messages being filtered. So this can take, I believe, up to 24 or 48 hours, but should be pretty efficient. Just as an aside at this point, if anyone tells you that you need a short code instead of a toll-free number, you probably don't need one. Like, unless you're already doing tens of millions of dollars per month in revenue, there's very limited upside in it. So if you're watching this introductory tutorial, I'm going to assume you're not doing tens of millions of dollars a month and you are very much good with a toll-free number. So we're gonna go ahead and put in our company name here, click next. And now Klaviyo is just gonna tell us what our basic steps are to get done. So before we create a sign up form and do any of this other fun stuff, we're gonna go ahead and create our list first. So we can click maybe later. And the first thing we're gonna do is go to list and segments, click on create new, create list, and we're gonna call this our SMS master list. Now we only wanna use one master list for all of our SMS subscribers that are coming in from our organic opt-in sources, like our pop-up forms that we're gonna have set up, or checkout. So we don't wanna get messy and have different lists for different places. Everyone who's signing up to SMS should be on one master list. And you're gonna see why it's important in a few minutes. So now we have our master list set up. Very important over here for compliance. We're gonna talk about compliance a little more in depth in a minute, but essentially it is really important to get proper consent when it comes to SMS marketing. In order to be able to compliantly and legally send someone a marketing text message, you need to make sure that you're getting their opt-in consent. So in the United States, where most of you are probably watching this from, for email marketing, the law works on an opt-out basis. So what that means is you can legally email anyone in the United States with marketing, and you should need to give them the opportunity to opt out with something like an unsubscribe button. So as long as you're doing that, that is legal and compliant. SMS, on the other hand, only works with opt-in. So you cannot legally text anyone unless they opt in explicitly for SMS marketing. marketing. So that's why we're going to go over to our consent tab. And then in the opt-in process, we're just going to make sure that this is set to double opt-in. And what double opt-in is going to do is we can see it right here. It's going to send a confirmation text where the user, the subscriber who's signing up, is going to have to confirm that they actually want to be subscribed to SMS marketing. So now that we've created our phone number, there's an action required message over here just because the URL that I entered is invalid. So the URL that you enter with your real brand is going to be valid. You shouldn't be seeing this. And the status should be showing in progress or something like that until it is verified. So while this is happening, we can now see all the settings that we have in our SMS section of settings in Klaviyo. So what we have here is our company information. So this is what we just input before. The SMS message add-ons. So you're gonna have an organizational prefix, and this is going to be necessary for compliance in some regions. So essentially every text message you send is just gonna have the name of your brand as a prefix before so that your subscribers know who the message is coming from. And then opt-out language. It's extremely important for compliance to allow people to opt out with every text message that they receive. So this is basically gonna make sure that in every SMS message you send, this language right here, text stop to opt out, is going to appear in every text. You don't have to worry about including it every time. So that's our sender information. Next up, we have sender preferences. So sender preferences, we're gonna have our smart sending over here. And basically smart sending works the same way as it does for email, where we're just gonna establish how long we want to wait in between sending someone another message if they've already received a text from a campaign or a flow. So we can keep this at 24 hours over here. And now we get to SMS quiet hours. So seeing quiet hours here is really just the beginning of where we start getting into the weeds of a lot of elements of SMS compliance that are quite tricky and can be pretty nuanced. Klaviyo has their own compliance recommendations for SMS. Attentive has their own compliance recommendations. Postscript has their own. And what we realized at Dispatch is each of them actually include different recommendations that the others might not. Some of their language in each of them kind of like suggests that you should do certain things. So they might suggest certain quiet hours. And each of them shies away from giving really explicit instructions on what you should do and what you should not do. So with that said, what we did Dispatch a couple of months ago in order to make sure all of our clients are as protected as they could possibly be for SMS compliance is we actually put together our own compliance cheat sheet and checklist. So anytime a new client onboards at Dispatch right now, we go through this checklist and make sure that their entire setup is SMS compliant. And with each message we send, we make sure that that message is being sent in a compliant manner. Now, if this sounds boring to you, like I totally get it. This is not fun stuff, but we've actually seen several brands face lawsuits from like ambulance chasing lawyers over the last few years. So these ambulance chasing lawyers are going after brands for very small infractions, and they can face lawsuits of like tens of thousands of dollars. In some cases, if you are sending an SMS that isn't compliant, it can be a $500 fine for each infraction. So that means every time you send an SMS message that might be outside of quiet hours, it's going to be a $500 fine, which obviously can rack up super quickly. So we basically have taken it upon ourselves to try and be as compliant as possible. And this is why it is super important. So this is our document, which includes a lot of information about number one, like what you should understand as a brand that is doing SMS marketing. And then number two, how to stay compliant and how to set up Klaviyo in order to make sure that you are following all of the necessary compliance settings. Now, just want to be clear that I didn't go to law school, so this is definitely not legal advice. I'm including the link in the description of the video for you to download this for free because it is ultimately the best resource that I have ever seen on SMS compliance. It's essentially an aggregate of what we found on all of the different platforms. Depending on when you're watching this video, it might be missing some new laws that have came into play, but if you do everything here, you're not going to do anything that would be negative. So I'm very confident that in August of 2025, this is a resource that you need to have in order to stay compliant. And we can see here in our document that when it comes to quiet hours for flows and SMS, to be safe, we should only send text during the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in recipient's local time zone. So there's a note here that residents of Alaska and Hawaii fall out of this range. So to send to them, you should use the hours of 2 to 8 p.m. local time. And basically what that means is when it comes to our best practice and our recommendation to stay compliant, Klaviyo accounts should be set with the default quiet hours of 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. for flows. And then just another note when it comes to flows is you don't want to send more than 3 SMSs in 24 hours because that would put you out of compliance. So like I said, there are a lot of best practices inside of here. We have an entire checklist for you to be able to follow. So go grab that in the description. So going back to quiet hours, we're going to keep this at 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. and we're going to use the assign country time zone. So you can either set this to use the phone number area codes or the assigned country time zone, which is going to be stored on every person's profile when they sign up. Now at the bottom here, we're going to have this checkbox to unsubscribe known SMS litigators. Like I said, a lot of ambulance chasing lawyers, they are genuinely the worst part of this industry. And if Klaviyo recognizes that one of them does sign up to your SMS list, they're simply going to kick them out of here so that you don't send to them. You can also set up call forwarding. So if you are using a toll-free number, then it won't be able to be called. And for compliance in some states in the US, you need to allow your SMS subscribers to be able to call for support if they have a problem. So what that means is when you set up call forwarding, it's basically going to link to a different phone number so that they can just call your toll-free number and it'll go to your customer support number. Next up, we have our keyword responses. So here's where we're seeing our double opt-in confirmation message that we saw an indication of in our list settings when we were setting up that double opt-in consent. Now, I definitely don't suggest you change this. This is a response required by TCPA guidelines. And basically what this is saying is as soon as someone signs up for SMS marketing, they're going to receive an automated message right away that says, please reply yes to consent to SMS updates. Message and data rates may apply and frequency may vary. Reply help for help or stop to opt out. Super straightforward, and it's just legal language that you need to have in that initial message to make them aware of those message and data rates. The other keyword responses you have here, you're just going to want to keep steady. So essentially, if someone replies with stop or unsubscribe or cancel or end or quit, then they're going to automatically be unsubscribed and they're going to get this automated message that says you replied with the word stop, which blocks all text sent from this number. If someone sends you a message that says help or info, it's simply going to say for help, reach us at, and this should be your customer support email address. So if this already isn't there by default, then go ahead and put in your brand's customer support address. If someone says start or unstop, then it's just going to resubscribe that profile. And if someone sends the message that says yes or Y, this is what's going to double opt-in subscribe them. So you can see here in the opt-in confirmation, we're saying please reply yes to consent. And then when they do reply yes, they're going to get the automated message that says you have successfully subscribed to SMS updates. So these are all the compliance keywords that you need to have set, and you just want to make sure that they all look correct. The only thing that you really should have to update potentially is that support email address. Next up, you have subscribe keywords. So this is used when brands want to get people to subscribe to SMS, like offline usually. So you can post this on your Instagram story, you can post on a billboard if you want. And basically what it looks like would be like text this word and send it to your phone number, and that will get them subscribed. So in this example, Klaviyo has this default already, which says join. So essentially, like if we want to add a new one, let's say we want to run a Black Friday promo where people text the word Black Friday in order to get 20% off. You would either add them to our master SMS list, or we would create a new list for them. We would make sure that it is a double opt-in process. And then basically Klaviyo is just letting us know that we're going to want a welcome flow to be set up for when these people sign up. Can click save over here. And now we have our new keyword set up. When it comes to subscribe links over here, we can create a subscribe link right now. Essentially what this is going to do is it's going to create a URL where anyone can go to just immediately subscribe to our SMS list. So in this example, let's say we want to use that SMS keyword Black Friday. We're just going to select our region, Canada, US. We can click save over here. And now we have this link that anyone can go to sign up. Now, what's great to note about this is if someone opens this on their phone, it's actually going to take them directly into their default messaging app. And it's just going to pre-fill a message for them to click send on, which is going to basically get them to sign up. But as you just saw, if someone's on desktop, they're going to go to that subscribe page and you can edit what that page looks like right here. So you go ahead and click customize for this list. You have your subscribe page, and here you can just update whatever you want this to look like. And finally over here, we have our terms of service. So when it comes to your mobile terms of service, you can click reconfigure over here just to make sure everything's set up properly, but you're just gonna want to put in your full company name, your support email address. I plan to send promotional messages such as, and this you can put as promotions and specials. I plan to send transactional message such as updates, alerts, information. And then you're gonna go ahead and put in your privacy policy URL over here. And then basically once you save that, Klaviyo is just gonna autofill based on that data. I think that Klaviyo automatically puts in your sending number once it's verified. So I think it does automatically place that in here. If it does not, go ahead and just check this and make sure that you put in the phone number that Klaviyo just gave us right over here. When it comes to our SMS opt-in disclosure, this legal language is going to be shown anywhere that we are collecting phone numbers for SMS marketing consent. So you can just go ahead and confirm your company name, your privacy policy URL, and your terms of service URL are all correct over here. And once you put these in, Klaviyo is just gonna link your privacy policy and your terms with these links. Okay, while we're in settings, you're gonna wanna go to attribution. And here's where we just wanna make sure that our attribution settings when it comes to SMS are right for your brand. So every brand has different attribution windows that make sense for them based on your buying cycle. So some brands like have a very long consideration window. You might send someone a text, they might not even click it, but that would go a long way in helping them convert 20 days later, let's say. So if that makes sense for your customer journey, then you would basically want to put in delivered SMS 20 days. For the average D2C brand that has a shorter consideration window and just more direct response style marketing in general, the default attribution is 12 hours after an SMS is delivered and then 5 days after someone clicks an SMS. So if someone receives an SMS and purchases within 12 hours, or they click an SMS and purchase within 5 days, if that's the last message that they received or clicked, then Klaviyo is going to attribute that order and that revenue to that SMS.
All right, so now that we've got our settings done, let's go ahead and actually start getting some SMS signups onto our list. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over to sign up forms. Now, if you already have an email pop-up form set up, you can go into your current existing email pop-up form and add SMS into that form. If you don't have a pop-up form set up at all, I would encourage you to go watch my video on setting up your first pop-up form. But for the sake of this exercise, we're going to create one from scratch right over here, just so you can see how SMS plays into it and what the best practices are to make sure that you're getting as many opt-ins as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and just choose a basic template over here. These templates don't convert extremely well. So at Dispatch, we aim for over 15% opt-in rates on our pop-up forms. But for the sake of this example, we're going to use one of these templates. And over here, we're going to select our master email list for our email subscriber list. And then when I ask for the phone number list, we're going to go ahead and put in our SMS master list. So we're going to create the form over here. So we have our form teaser, we have our email opt-in. This is not a form, again, that is optimized to convert at 15%, but this will do for now. And essentially, if you're looking at your current opt-in form that just says email, or you're setting up a new form, you're going to either have an offer in place for email signups, where you're going to want to have an offer in place. And in this example, our brand is giving away 10% off in exchange for your email address on your first order. So essentially, we have 10% as the acquisition offer for email. And now when we get to the SMS step right over here, this is what you're going to want to add in. So essentially, you're going to want to add in a step right after email opt-in. You can do that by clicking step and then clicking text message opt-in. Doesn't let me do it now because it's already over here. If it wasn't, you could do that. And essentially, the most important thing to understand over here, what you want to make sure you do is have an additional incentive to get people to sign up for SMS. So if you're just offering 10% off for their email address and then basically saying, again, like take 10% off and sign up for SMS, there's no real additional reason for them to give you their phone number when they're getting the exact same discount and incentive for giving you their email address, which they've already given you at this point. So a great way to incentivize SMS signups is to include a better discount. So if your acquisition offer for email is 10% off your first order, then what a lot of brands do is say, get an extra 5% off when you sign up for SMS. Or if you really can't afford to give away that margin in exchange for the SMS, what you can do is something like this, where you can basically say, want SMS only deals or join our VIP list, or basically just having any other copy there that positions SMS as a channel where a new subscriber is going to get additional value. So it can be early access to sales. It can be exclusive sales for SMS, anything that's just going to separate the channel from email and show them that they're getting more. Now, one other thing to note here is that because there is the double opt-in process in place, someone's only officially going to join our SMS list once they reply yes to that automated compliance opt-in message that we just saw before. So an additional reason why it's good to have an additional incentive here, like an extra 5% off, is so that there is a really clear reason for them to open their phone and reply yes. And you'll see an example of what this looks like in just a second. So for the sake of this example, I'll change this to want an extra 5% off. And then we can have enter your number to get 15% off your first order. So now they're going to get 10% off if they sign up for email or 15% off if they sign up for SMS. Now we can see here the disclosures is here by default, and the disclosure language is exactly what we set up in our settings. So I'm just going to pause here and say that your pop-up form is a really important place to make sure that your compliance is nailed down. So make sure you go get that compliance cheat sheet and just really make sure that this is set up properly and compliantly. One of the big things here is you need to make sure that your disclosure language is super clear and visible. So don't go making the font size too small or the color of the text too light. And another big thing here for compliance is you need to make sure that the disclosure language is above the opt-in button, because something that these ambulance chasing lawyers are doing is they're actually going after brands and saying, well, because your opt-in language was below the button, someone could have clicked on the button without actually seeing the legal language. So over here, we're going to have our phone number right here, set this to text messaging. The single step for promotional only is good at this point. And then when you have your send button over here, the action is going to be submit form. So that this is going to basically just submit this into our list. The list to submit them into, we already set to SMS master list. And then after submit, it's just going to show the next step, which is going to be our success step. Now on our success step, we can make sure to let them know that they should be checking their mobile device to confirm their subscription. So they don't have to confirm their email subscription because you should have single opt-in turned onto your email list. But because they've made it to the success step, we know that they've given us their phone number at this point. So we want to make sure that we're telling them to go confirm your subscription. And we can even say here, just to further incentivize them, check your mobile device to confirm your subscription and get your code for 15% off. So at this point, you can go ahead and publish your form. As always, you're gonna wanna make sure that this looks good on desktop and mobile over here. And now once we have people coming onto our list, it's time to get into our automated flows. So we're gonna click on flows over here. Now, something that's important to note is your welcome series for SMS is gonna be the only flow that you want to set up as a separate flow. So your other flows can be omni-channel. You want to have email and SMS working together inside of your abandoned flows, post-purchase. But when it comes to welcome, it's really important that it's a separate flow entirely, and I'll show you why right now. So to create our welcome series, we can go ahead and click create flow. We can click build your own just so you can see how this works from scratch. We can call this welcome series SMS. And now instead of using a list as a trigger, which we would normally use for our email welcome series, what we're going to do is click on all triggers, click on metric, and then click on subscribe to SMS marketing. The reason we're using our subscribe to SMS marketing trigger is because this is the metric that is going to fire when someone completes their double opt-in. So imagine someone signs up to the form and officially joins the list at that moment, but they don't complete the double opt-in and reply yes for another 5 hours. Where Klaviyo is not going to be able to send them that welcome code at the time that they sign up and join the list because they haven't compliantly double opted in. We want to make sure that our trigger is based on when they're actually becoming compliant. Now, the same as any other welcome series, we're going to want to make sure we have a profile filter in here to say what has someone done. And because this is a welcome nurture flow, we're going to say place order 0 times overall time. You can click on save. And now we have our trigger and our profile filter set up. So now we want to give them the code that they're getting right away. So we said in this instance that they're getting extra 5%. So we're going to want to give them this code right away. So we have our first SMS. We're going to turn off Smart Sending right now. It's the first message they're ever going to receive from us. Enable UTM tracking. Enable SMS quiet hours, super important for compliance.
And then we can go ahead and edit the content. So this is what the SMS content editor looks like. It's the same for campaigns and flows. And essentially here's where you're gonna have your message. So right away, you can see the prefix that we set up in the settings right here, which is dispatch. It's gonna appear at the beginning of every message. And then we have the important text stop to opt out message. That's always gonna be there. So you're not gonna see it in the message content area over here because it's just always there. And here you can see if we say, welcome to dispatch, use code dispatch 15 for 15% off your first order. And then we can say shop now, and then go ahead and give them the link to go shop the website. So you're gonna see it says dispatch, welcome to dispatch. Pro tip, you're gonna wanna put a space in between your lines. You're just gonna notice that when you don't have spaces in there, it's just gonna all look very bunched together, and you wanna make sure that your copy can be very easily scannable. And especially for your CTAs, a lot of people don't do this. You're gonna want to put a space under the last sentence too, just to make sure that your CTA is super clear. So we have our first SMS welcome message set up. We're giving them the offer that was promised in the pop-up form. So right here, Klaviyo lets us know that this is going to be one SMS message and it's going to cost us 1 credit. So essentially right here, this 138 over 160 is letting us know that we get up to 160 characters in one message segment. So for every 160 characters that we use, that costs us 1 credit in an SMS. So you would see if I just add in some extra characters right here, this is going to take us over 160. And now it's going to say that we're at 162 out of 306, which is how many characters we would have if it was 2 SMSs and 2 credits. So you're going to want to make sure that you're just watching the amount of credits that you're using, because of course, if you can get the same message across using 1 credit instead of 2, it's literally going to cost you half as much money and double your ROI. Now, automatically shortened links we can keep turned on just because it's a better experience for your customers. And then you can see you can also add emojis if you want. Emojis do add additional characters. So you can see we're at 138 over here out of 160. It's 1 credit. If I add 1 thumbs up emoji, it goes from 1 credit to 3 credits. So you can see special characters reduce your SMS character limit from 160 to 70, which could increase the message count. So for us from 1 to 3, it's literally 3 times more expensive just to include an emoji. So be very confident that that emoji is going to drive additional revenue if you're going to include it. The next thing you can do is you can add an image. So let's say we want to add an image to this. We can add this image right over here. And essentially what you're going to see here is this brings us from 1 SMS message to 1 MMS message, which is going to be 3 credits instead of 1. So if you do want to get the most bang for your buck and you're going to be using an emoji and going over 1 credit to begin with and hitting 3 credits, what's good to note is as soon as you send an MMS, that actually gives you 1,600 characters. So if you're sending a text that's getting you 3 credits in the first place, it's usually worthwhile to just make it an MMS. Now, the final thing here is the ability to add personalization. So just like in emails, you can add someone's first name, you can add someone's last name, their email, literally any data that lives on their profile, you can add in here to personalize your text messages. Finally, you can create an A/B test super easily. So if you want to A/B test the first text message in your welcome series, let's say, where you have an image in one version and you have no image in the other, you can do that super easily. So we can delete this over here. This is going to be our text version where we want to just see if just having the text converts better than having a text with an image. We can click save and continue, and then you'd be able to publish your test and be able to view the results super easily after that. Now, going back into the message one more time, the last thing that we have here is our compliance. So simply put, you just want to make sure that all of your compliance checkboxes are checked over here. And then if you do want to preview your text message on an iOS device versus an Android, you can do that over here. If you want to see what it'll look like in the US versus Canada, you can do this over here. And then you're always going to want to make sure you send yourself a preview of the text message just to make sure that everything is rendering the way that you want to on your phone. The links are working and everything looks as it should. And that's really it. So that's like as easy as it gets. Now for the rest of your welcome flow, what you're going to want to do, and this is really something that you can apply to all of your flows as you start working through them to get SMS set up, is you want to make sure that you're communicating the really important brand messages and conversion angles that are in your emails in your SMSs as well in like bite-sized form. So basically you just want to be able to distill the key message in an email down to 1 sentence or 2 sentences in that SMS. I'm just going to pause over here and say that if you don't have your email flow set up, that should absolutely be step number 1 before setting up your SMS flows. So if you haven't done that yet, go watch my video on setting up your email flows in order to understand exactly what messaging should be in each of your core flows. You're going to want to make sure that you go to your email welcome series and just make sure that you're adding in those key messages in that SMS flow. So that could look like your SMS number 1, giving them that code. In your second SMS, we would want just a time delay over here. This would just want to be 1 day. And then in your second SMS, if your conversion angle is the fact that you have the best ingredients, if it's the fact that all these celebrities love your product, then you're just going to want to make sure that you include that in an SMS, and also that you include reminders for your SMS subscribers to use that code dispatch 15 for that additional incentive that you gave them in the pop-up form, and don't just leave that in the first SMS. So with each SMS in your welcome flow, make sure that you're reminding them about that. One thing I will note here is that because SMS is a more personal channel and it can lead to higher unsubscribe rates, every brand is uniquely positioned in how they should be handling their SMS strategy and how aggressive versus how conservative they should be with how many SMSs they send in a welcome flow as an example. So just make sure you're taking the time to think through your unique customer journey and strike a balance between driving the maximum amount of conversions possible while also being conscientious of your subscriber, your customer demo, and how often they want to hear from you in your SMS flows. With that said, I would recommend a minimum of 3 SMS messages in every welcome flow for every brand. So that is that for the welcome flow. Now I'm going to show you an example of how to build out omni-channel flows. So let's go ahead and take our abandoned checkout flow as an example. So if we look at our email only abandoned checkout flow, if you've watched my other video on email flows, this should be somewhat similar to what your current email flow looks like. And we're going to go ahead and add SMS into this flow. So we have our first conditional split here. That's basically splitting this into 2 branches, one for existing customers and one for prospects. And Klaviyo makes this super easy. So what we're going to do is just add in another conditional split over here. And we're simply going to be able to say in this conditional split, if someone can or cannot receive marketing, and we're going to set this to SMS marketing and click on save. Now, the reason we have this conditional split in place is in order to control the time delays. So essentially what we can say here is if someone is consented to SMS marketing, we have that 100% open rate with SMS. We want to make sure that the first touch point that we're getting in front of them is that SMS. So what we would do here is add in our first SMS right over here. And like I said, to keep things simple, the goal should just be to create a bite-sized version of your email. So if you're doing objection handling, which you should be in your abandoned cart flow, and you're reminding prospects that they can still use their welcome offer, which you should be, and you're speaking to anything else that's going to get them to convert, then you want to basically package all of that up into less than 160 characters ideally, and link them back out to checkout in that SMS. So this is exactly how you're going to go ahead and set up an omni-channel customer journey across all of your flows. Now, what is going to make this omni-channel? We're saying if someone can receive SMS, then send them the SMS. And if not, then send them the email. But what do we do to really bring these channels together? If someone is receiving that SMS, we already have the filters in place in our abandoned checkout flow to make sure we're not sending to anyone who's already placed an order. So what that means is if someone did not convert after receiving this SMS, then we want to use email as that second touch point to try and convert them as well. So this is going to be unique for every brand, and the timing really does matter here. So time delays and testing time delays is something that we do a lot of at Dispatch. What we're going to do is add a time delay, and we can set this to 4 hours. So if someone has not purchased within 4 hours of receiving that text message, we then want to send them the email. And here's where we can use our connectors to then go ahead and connect the SMS recipient branch to our emails. So now we can see right here in this conditional split, can someone receive SMS? Yes. Great, send them the SMS, then wait 4 hours, then send them the email. And if a subscriber cannot receive SMS, then they're gonna go down this no branch and they're gonna get that email right away. And you would essentially just repeat this process throughout your flows. So it really is as simple as that, and the same can be applied to every flow. All right, now finally we have our SMS campaigns. So we can navigate over to campaigns and I'll show you exactly how to set one up. Super straightforward. We're gonna click on create campaign over here. We're gonna click on SMS, and then we get to the audience. Now, simply put, you wanna use your master SMS list, your full list, only for big promotions, big new product launches. And you should be aiming for anywhere upwards of a 5% click rate on those full list SMS sends. Really over 10% is great territory. Now, this is really different for every brand. So we look at engagement patterns and we look at customer demos in order to define this. But for your evergreen sends, you're gonna wanna create an engaged segment, similar to how you would with your email segments, and essentially just define who you want to send regular SMS campaigns to, whether that's weekly or monthly. And that can easily be defined by who's been on the website recently, who's clicked on an SMS campaign recently, who's added something to cart recently. So essentially anyone who is like warm in the funnel or shows engagement with your regular evergreen campaigns. And you want to leave out anyone who is just not engaging and just has not been to the site recently. And you just want to use your full list sends to get to those people. One other pro tip here is at Dispatch, we often look at the click rate to unsubscribe rate ratio on our campaigns to evaluate if they performed well or not. So our click rate is a really good positive indicator that subscribers got a lot of value out of that campaign. and they were interested and engaged with it, where our unsubscribe rate is going to point to the percentage of people who just did not appreciate getting that text message. It really was not worthwhile for them, to the point where they decided, like, I don't want to receive any text messages anymore. So if you do see that your unsubscribe rate is close to your click rate, or even worse, if it's higher, that's definitely a good signal that the SMS campaign that you sent was just not interesting and a good idea to send to your list. So for the sake of this example, we can choose SMS master list over here. We can turn smart sending on or off depending on what type of campaign it is. We'll go ahead and include our tracking parameters. We can click next over here. And then we get to the same SMS content screen and compliance screen as we had in our flows. So this is really identical. Nothing really new to introduce over here. You've seen it at this point. As always, you want to make sure that you're previewing and texting every SMS campaign that you send. And then when it comes time to send the campaign, Klaviyo is just going to let you know what your billing status is. So essentially it will let you know how many credits you are paying for on a monthly basis, how many credits this campaign is going to cost. And you make the judgment call based on that if you want to reduce the segment size, if you want to cut it down from 2 credits to 1 credit, or if you're okay with it and you just want to send it. Now, super important, when you go to schedule your send, you absolutely need to make sure that you're sending it within a compliant time. Once you have that, you can click schedule campaign and you're all done. So I talked about that click rate to unsubscribe rate ratio before. The last thing you're going to want to check on when it comes to SMS analytics is essentially how your campaigns and your flows are performing. So when you go to your business review tab and you click on metrics over here, you're going to be able to see all of your metrics for email and then SMS on the right side column. So for SMS, you're going to be able to track total recipients, unique clicks, period over period, your click rate, unique conversions, conversion rate, conversion value, everything that you have available on the email side that you should be paying attention to optimize every single month. You're going to be able to analyze the exact same data on the SMS front. And it is really important to break these out and identify what were your top performing SMS campaigns, what were your top performing campaigns for prospects, for existing customers. And then on the flow side, same thing. If you click on metrics, you can have all the data for the SMS messages in your flows. And every month you're going to want to identify in each of your flows which SMSs were underperforming, which ones performed really well, which A/B test can we run the next month, and just consistently make sure that the high leverage points in your funnel, you're consistently A/B testing your SMSs along with your emails. So getting SMS set up and optimized is really just part of a truly profitable lifecycle marketing strategy. And to fully understand how you should be driving maximum conversions with both email and SMS in Klaviyo, you absolutely need the right flows in place with the right strategy inside of those flows. So in this next video, I break down the 7 core flows that every brand must have to achieve the highest possible ROI from their email and SMS marketing, and explain everything that you could ever need to know about how to build out these flows for your own brand. I'll see you over there.